Hey everybody, how's it going? So welcome to The Walking Dead Rewatch, where I will be rewatching every single episode of The Walking Dead. I'm really enjoying Season 1 right now. I finished the first 2 episodes, and how I'm going to be doing this is I'm going to be doing a review or thoughts on the episode. I'm not going to be doing stuff like I do for current Walking Dead reviews, where I talk about each individual storyline and go into it more in depth and like wonder about what will happen in the next one, because we already know what happens, right? So I want to give my thoughts on just the certain storyline, certain moments that do happen, and I'm going to be combining both episodes in each video. And then I'm also going to add a Q&A section at the end. So if you want to be involved in the Q&A section, just go follow me on Instagram. That's just at MusicMan on Terrace Street. I already have the questions for this because I made a post on there already. So yeah, let's just jump into the first episode. The first one obviously is titled Days Gone By. This is the first episode of The Walking Dead, and it is a monumental episode. I mean, there's nothing really more I can say about that. It is such a great episode. I would say that it's probably my least favorite of season 1. And the only reason why is because I've watched it to death. I've rewatched this episode so many times already. I actually enjoyed episode 2 a lot more. It was just because I forgot a lot of things that happened. I forgot that Merle was the way he was. Like, the way he's portrayed in season 3 is very different than what he was like in season 1. You watch Merle's introduction, it's pretty crazy. Like, wow. This episode starts off with Rick. You don't know his name is Rick yet. And you're just following this man. Who is this guy right here? He's walking through all the cars, and you see that something has happened. And obviously, if you're tuning into the show, you know it's the apocalypse. But you don't really know who this character is. You don't really know the circumstances of the apocalypse. You don't know how the zombies react. You don't know the world. You don't know the characters. You don't know who this guy is, what he's looking for, if he's looking for anything. And it was kind of cool just to see Rick here. Like, he's the first character you see, and it's just like this quiet intro of him just walking. One thing I actually liked is that we saw the old Walking Dead intro. I love the new intro that Angela King has come up with for season, I don't know if she came up with it, but like her and other people, I'm sure. But for season 9 and 10, it looks amazing. I really do love it. But when you see the old intro too, obviously I think that's nostalgia. It's nice. Like, I haven't seen it in a while. The one thing that I picked up on though was that Shane apparently had a girlfriend, which I found very weird. Like during the conversation when they're talking about, like when Rick and Shane are in the cop car, they're talking about, like Shane's talking to his girlfriend and she doesn't know how to turn the light switch off. He's literally talking about his girlfriend. So what happened to her? Because obviously when this happened, this was right around the time where Rick got shot, got put into a coma. And then that was about 40-something days or something like that. I guess it was just his girlfriend, so he didn't really care. Or was he just telling the story of... No, I think he was talking about a current girlfriend. Yeah, I don't know if they went to that story a little bit more in the future, if they ever talked about it, but it's something that's just kind of ignored. But a lot of things are also ignored, like Rick's parents. We learned a little bit about them later on, but not really. Why wasn't Rick worried about them and trying to locate his parents, right? The car chase shootout thing was really cool. It's awesome to see Rick and just what he was like in his normal everyday life, because that was really the only time where we were ever going to see that. Like him in the cop car, him and for the car chase shootout like scene or whatever. That was just Rick in his normal everyday life. It was the shit that he dealt with here and there. And it was just nice for me personally to see all that, just to spend time with this character again in a normal setting, because we didn't get a lot of that throughout the series. Obviously, we've watched the entire series, so we know the shit that Rick is going to go through, but it was just kind of nice to see. Now, when he wakes up in the apocalypse, the first thing he does is drink a ton of water. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I did talk about it to death years ago when I used to do videos on that, but everyone used to focus so much on the fact that he was out and in a coma or whatever for like a month. And it was a month of no food or water, which I know is a little unrealistic. But when you watch the scene, they don't really say in the show that it's been that long. Like, not right away. He just kind of wakes up. And also, I think it's something that you can easily overlook. I know it's convenient for the story, but I think Robert Kirkman just wanted to do a zombie apocalyptic story with a character that just woke up a month later. Like, he was alive. He was doing these normal things, having lunch or dinner, or I guess lunch or whatever, with his best buddy. And then they go into this car chase thing, gets shot, gets put in a coma, wakes up, and the world is gone. The world wouldn't be gone in like a week. The world would be gone probably in a month. Probably in a week, a lot would happen for sure. But in a month, that's where you start to get all these decayed bodies and all this shit that happens when he wakes up in the hospital. So, like, I am totally willing to overlook all of that. The hospital scene is just great. I mean, rewatching the entire thing from when he wakes up, goes to drink some water, is walking around, just the revelation of what is going on. It's just such a fascinating thing, and I think that's why zombie apocalyptic stories work so well. It's because you're kind of putting yourself in that character's position. Like, how would I react to all of this? What would I do differently? And I think Andrew Lincoln portrayed all of that so well. Rick in this episode is just, it's so weird. He looks so young, which was so, I don't want to say Andrew Lincoln looks old now because he doesn't really look old, but he has a lot more white hair. And it's a lot more than I thought. It actually is a lot more than I thought. I thought he always kind of had a little bit of white hair or gray hair or something. And maybe you can see it a little bit here, but not really. Like, his hair is pretty dark, or maybe they dyed it back then. I don't know. But he looks really young in this episode. The weird thing that I noticed is that the zombies behaved very differently, which I found, I mean, I don't know what I prefer. Do I prefer the zombies during the Darabont era, or I guess post-Darabont era, because all zombies have basically behaved the same since season 2. I would even say it wasn't even a Darabont era, because I'm pretty sure in season 2 they behave like they do now. And Darabont was the showrunner for season 2, or at least for the majority of it. So basically it's, do you prefer the season 1 zombies or walkers, sorry, or do you prefer everything else afterwards? And I actually do prefer the season 1 walkers. I really do. There's something about them and the way that they're acting that is just so creepy, because their eyes are actually kind of looking at you a little bit more. Now I feel like they're just so lifeless. There's no personality to them. They look amazing. Visually, they're like gorgeous as hell, but there's something about season 1 zombies that it's very creepy. And also the fact that they can actually turn doorknobs was just, I wish that was still a thing, because that's adds a whole new level of threat, right? You got to make sure all the doors are locked and stuff. Like, that was literally a part of the story for season 1, because they had to lock the roof door because Merle was up there. Now you don't even have to do that. You don't even have to really lock the door, because they won't open the door. Like, if it's shut properly, they can't get through, like, but zombies then were opening doors. If it wasn't locked, they would open it and walk through. So I don't know. I kind of preferred season 1 zombies. I also liked how fresh they looked. I really miss fresh looking zombies. I think they looked a lot better. I don't know, maybe it's just nostalgia. Like, that could be it, right? I feel nostalgic for those older zombies. I don't know what it is, but I know watching this, it was just refreshing to see those type of zombies. The music in this episode is great, specifically when Rick leaves the hospital and he's walking out, and then he walks up that hill a little bit and sees the helicopter. There's just something about the music used there that they haven't really used that style of music since. A little bit in season 9 though, definitely at the end there's like hints of, I guess, that type of suspense to it. It's really hard to describe, but if you go watch that scene, you'll know exactly what I mean with it. There's something about it that is just like, it's very cinematic, and I want to see more music like that, at least in the movies. It felt really like classic horror. Like, I feel like they don't really do that as much anymore, but then it felt like classic horror. Actually, what really felt like classic horror for sure was the Whisperer Pike scene. If you watch that scene, you hear the music there, that felt like, whoa, this isn't The Walking Dead. Like, you normally don't use music like this, but the instruments used there, I think it's like a violin, I'm guessing, is what they're using. I mean, I don't know. Just go watch the scene, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And lastly, for episode 1, I just wanted to talk about Morgan. I didn't want to talk about everything specifically, because I know the stuff that happens with him in the tank. We hear Glenn, and he's like, hey, dumbass. The first time we ever hear Glenn. But Morgan in this episode is such a great character. He's probably my favorite out of all the characters. It's hard to say, because obviously Rick is just amazing in this episode too. But Lenny James is Morgan Jones. Like, man, it's just so tragic that he's on Fear the Walking Dead now. And I don't mean to just hate on the show for no reason. Like, obviously, people who are fans of Fear the Walking Dead are really going to like Fear the Walking Dead, and I don't mean to, like, piss all of you guys off. But, because I will say there are some moments on Fear that are okay. There are stuff, I can see why people watch it. It's just when you compare, like, I think that's just the thing about it, is I'm comparing who Morgan is now on that show to what he was like in the premiere of season 1, and to what I know Lenny James could do with the character, and how much I think the writing should be a lot better with this character. And you really see it in this first episode. There's a lot more you can do with Morgan, and I don't know why they haven't done a lot with him. Like, why doesn't he have another kid yet, or hasn't found another relationship? I know they're trying to get to that now, but it's been years. It's been like 10 years. I think that was something they could have explored more in like All Out War or something. I don't know. They definitely could have gotten to it a lot sooner. Anyways, Lenny James in this episode is just amazing. And I think that's why people really felt, or I guess got attached to the character so much and missed him. I was always wondering, is Morgan coming back? And then when he I think that's why Clear is such a good episode. I remember when Clear aired. I didn't know of the comic. I didn't know that Morgan came back in the future. Like, I literally had no knowledge of anything at this point. I just watched that episode and I was like, who is this person shooting at them? And then we learned that it was Morgan, and I was freaking out. I was so hyped, and I can't wait to talk about that episode when we eventually get to it. But man, Clear and this episode is one of the best Morgan performances ever. Lenny James has done a really amazing job in future episodes, obviously, with like season 6, 7, and 8. But I really want to see Lenny James working with Angela Kang and getting a story with Angela Kang. I want that so bad. I really do. Why aren't we getting that? Now on to episode 2. Obviously, right away we learn that Lori and Shane are in a relationship. And I mean, we literally learn it because they get into it like right away, like before the opening credits roll. And then the cliffhanger from the previous episode was that Rick was trapped in a tank. And so we see Glenn help Rick out. And then eventually we meet Merle. And like I said, Merle really makes an appearance in this episode. It was, I didn't realize he was like that. Actually, at one point he says, you got to be more polite to a man with a gun. And he actually tries to be the leader. I totally forgot about that. I totally forgot that that was the reason Merle and Daryl actually went there. They were going to take all their shit. And yeah, that's just crazy. But then obviously what happened to Merle on the rooftop, that's what stopped all of that. And then Daryl eventually had to stay with them. So like, thankfully, I guess Rick showed up, because if Rick never showed up, Merle probably just would have taken the lead there, right? Actually, I guess technically, thankfully, Glenn saved Rick from the tank, because that could have gotten really bad, right? The whole storyline for this episode, I mean, the episode's titled Guts, and this is the first time they used the Guts trick, and that was the whole point of this episode, was they're trying to escape the city, and they do. There's a lot of really great things here. It's really awesome that they use this technique really early on in the show's history, because it does come into play now, especially with the season 10 finale coming out. We know they're going to use this technique, but there's this whole added level of threat with the Whisperers and stuff, which I really love. They really did hint at a Rick and Andrea relationship. It was teased so much during the mermaid necklace scene, and you knew they were going to get to that point because it happens in the comic, right? Rick and Andrea are a couple, but I guess because of what happened in season 3, they ended up having to give that story to Michonne, which still works. Obviously, I do like Rick and Michonne together, but in season 1, you know that wasn't the plan. Like, you can see there's a spark there between Rick and Andrea. That was supposed to be the original storyline. Like, you can tell. The gut scene was awesome, and I think what really made it awesome was the fact that zombies were running like crazy at them. I'm not even kidding you. Like, go watch that scene again. They're actually running at them. And that's what I want. I do want more zombies like that. Like, I'm not saying that I want zombies mutating and all of a sudden they have like 6 arms or 8 arms, 10, 12 arms, and they're like mutating, they have fangs and stuff, and they can start thinking for themselves and stuff now. It's like, no, I would like to see something a little different with the zombies though, because they've been what they are for years now, right? For seasons and seasons, it's been the same type of zombies. So, and sure, you can get really creative with them and do different visual things with them, have like this beehive zombie or the swamp zombies, or like you can do different things, or the snow zombies in season 9. You can do different things with them, but they're basically the same thing though. Our characters at this point are not scared of them at all. The Whisperers was a fun, play on zombies because they're technically zombies. Not really, but, So for season 9 and 10, like, you can kind of give them a pass on all that. But going in the future, especially with the Commonwealth arc, you kind of have to do something different with them. And I know they're probably not going to. But if I could change anything, I think I would make them running a little bit more. And not even running. Like, when you watch the scene, they're not really running, although they kind of are. They're jogging mostly. Like, there's an increase in speed. They're matching them. When Glenn and Rick are running away, they're almost matching them. They're still able to get away, but they're not walking. They're definitely going a lot faster. Combine that with opening the doors and stuff like that. I think that would be really awesome if they brought that back. And you don't even have to explain all of it. Just pretend it was always kind of a thing, because it was a thing in season 1, right? Glenn was the hero in this episode. I mean, I feel like Glenn for the first 2 seasons was always the hero. He just always got shit done. He did the shit that no one else could do. He was driving that red car, and he actually drives down that iconic Atlanta shot. When you see Rick going into Atlanta, you see Glenn driving from Atlanta outwards. I never knew that shot existed, but that it literally exists. Also, we see Dale, Amy, Jim, etc. I just wanted to mention them because it was so nice to actually see them. And I always forget that Amy was a character. Like, obviously I know of Dale, Jim, I think about them a lot, but I forget that Amy was ever a character. That was Andrea's sister, and she died so long ago. I think it's just because it's been so long since season 1 aired that I kind of forget a lot of that. Like, I stopped rewatch, like every season I used to rewatch everything up until like season 6, I would say. Then I stopped because it was just so much, because there were so many episodes. I have watched episodes here and there throughout the last like couple of years, but I haven't sat down and just watched 2 episodes straight. I think I'm actually going to watch episodes 3 and 4 right away, just because I'm really in the mood to rewatch all of this stuff, and I'll just record my episode reviews in advance, schedule them for Sunday sort of thing. But I thought these 2 episodes were great. They were really great episodes. A lot of stuff happened in them. I'm not going to be doing ratings and stuff like that because I normally don't, or I guess, believe in ratings. On the podcast, we do ratings. We do them out of 5, based on like out of 5 stars, whatever, for each movie. But still, that's because we have 2 people there, and we just wanted to we want to show you roughly where we are on a certain movie compared to the other person, and you know, or not where we are, but where, like, say I am compared to him, right? So these episodes were just great. Obviously, I think all of season 1 is a complete masterpiece. And as soon as we're done season 1, I'll give my sort of thoughts on the entire season. I'll always do that for the finales. Wherever these finales end up in this series of videos, I'll obviously give my thoughts on the season then. But it's Q&A time. I'm just going to be reading them here from Instagram. Again, if you want your questions to be answered here, just go follow me on Instagram. When I do make another post for next week's Q&A for episodes 3 and 4, then you can post your questions about those episodes then, and then, yeah, I'll most likely read it in that video. Q&A, do you prefer the running and more human-like walkers that could climb and pick stuff up as we were first introduced to? Why or why not? Definitely, I do like it. I think it's just a little more relatable, a little more creepy, and I think the threat level is just increased a lot. Are you going to do Fear the Walking Dead Rewatch 2 at Music Mountain Terrace Street? Probably not. I might review season 1 again at some point in the future. Maybe 1 and 2, or maybe just 1, because 1 is the most interesting to me because it took place mainly in the pre-apocalyptic era, or I guess kind of during as well, mostly. But I don't know. I don't have any plans for that right now. That might be something that happens in like a couple of years, or within the next couple of years, or something like that. Q&A, do you remember what your first reaction to seeing Merle for the first time in episode 2 was? And do these 2 episodes make you wish Morgan never left the show? Yeah, on that last part, definitely for sure. I wish he was still in the show. And yeah, my first reaction to seeing Merle was just like, who the hell is this guy? Why the hell does he think he can, you know? I thought he was an asshole. I just thought, okay, I know guys like that. So yeah, I'm glad Rick was there. I'm glad he knocked him out and handcuffed him to that pipe or whatever. He's still a cool character though. I do like Merle. I'm not saying I don't like Merle, but just in that scene at first, he's not that likable. Do you think the song Space Junk is fitting for Rick Grimes as a character? It's become iconic for him. Definitely. I hope they always use that in, like, in the first movie, I hope they use it as like an the end credit song. I hope they use it there. Q&A, Rick told Dwayne that every time he pulls out the trigger, he has to mean it. If the masked person is Dwayne, do you think that could be how they figure out who he is? I don't really know, because no one else knows that. Like, Rick told Dwayne that, and so the only person that knows that would be Rick or Dwayne. And Rick might have even forgot that, right? If Rick ever returns to the show, or Dwayne's around or whatever, Dwayne could tell Rick. He'll be like, I never forgot what you told me. Like, you know, whenever I pull the trigger, I gotta mean it. And Rick might remember after he says it, sort of thing. But no, I don't think there's any way to find out that's Dwayne just through that action, because no one else was there. In episode 1, Rick approaches a young girl that seems to be alive because she picked up a toy. It turns out she was dead, so how and why did she pick it up, and could it be an Easter egg? I don't think they really thought everything through with the zombies yet. I think they're just doing whatever. And visually, it's creepy, and for the scene, you wanted Rick to think that this was just a little girl who picked up a teddy bear and was normal, and then she turns around and you're like, whoa, never mind, she's not normal. So it was something that wasn't planned out yet, and then obviously as the years went on, the rules got more established, and I think that's all it was. I took your idea and started watching this series all over again too. Awesome, that's really awesome, because I'm actually really enjoying it. I hope you are too. And anyone else who decides to rewatch The Walking Dead, I hope you guys are all enjoying rewatching it. Do you think Carl knew Dwayne from school since they were the same age? Episode 2, or I guess right after episode 1. I don't think Carl knew Dwayne. I think that would have been kind of cool though, but I don't think they knew each other. Episode 2, do you think that they should use walkers that are more human-like, that can run, climb, and pick things up more? Definitely, yes, they should. Does it ever take you out of the show to see walkers acting so differently in season 1 than they do in other seasons? It doesn't really take me out. It's actually kind of refreshing, personally. I've been rewatching everything lately, and I don't know if it was ever talked about, but Rick's death episode during the dream sequence he has, did you catch the voice? What's your wound? Yeah, that was Morgan in the back, yeah. It almost sounds like Stephanie at first, then a guy's voice, maybe a voice from who was with him after he gets treated. No, that was actually Morgan. In that scene, they just took the voice and put that there because they wanted to connect and make everything full circle for Rick. Q&A, since the first season was Darabont, what are the artistic differences you see between first seasons and later ones? Well, I mean, that's a lot to answer because there's a lot of artistic differences between Darabont and like Gimple or Glenn Mazzaro or Angela Kang. There's a lot of differences between all of them. There's a lot of differences between Angela Kang and Gimple. If I'm to focus on what's unique to Darabont than all the other showrunners, then I would say it's that he really focused on the more human element to the story and really made the story, I guess, more R-rated is what you could say. I'm going to talk about it in episode 3 because I watched a little bit of that, but they make a joke in there that I was like, whoa, that seems a little, I don't want to say inappropriate for The Walking Dead, because that is what the show used to be. They, like, obviously it's not inappropriate. The show was more for an adult audience back then, but nowadays it's not really that anymore. They don't tell jokes like that anymore. They don't talk about things like that as much. I don't know if that was a Darabont thing or if it was just a season 1 thing because they were just trying to figure stuff out. And obviously The Walking Dead at this point, it was a pretty unknown show. It did get pretty big numbers in the first season. It definitely did. It broke a lot of records, but they weren't trying to prove anything, right? It was just the first season of a show. Later on, it got more into what it was, or into what it eventually became. Things got a little different, but at first it wasn't like that. That's really the only difference I see. And that could be good or bad. I actually think that I want Angela Kang to do more of that. And she has. There are certain things that I can think of that she has definitely more than, say, seasons from like seasons 3 to like 8 or something like that. But yeah, there's stuff like that. There's a lot of differences. There's a lot of different things. I mean, I think you guys can definitely tell. I'm sure you guys already know, right? Like you can see there's clear differences between seasons 1 and 2, then 3. And there's differences between 3 and 4, and then from 4 to 8 to 9, or 9 and 10, I guess, right? But thank you guys so much for all your questions, and thank you for watching the video if you made it this far. I hope you guys made it this far. Let me know how long you want these videos. I'm testing it with this length right now, which I know is very long. I do want to have both episodes in one video. I don't want to do them separately. I think it saves a lot of time and I can get to the point with all of it. And I think it's just a lot more entertaining to watch one video on all of that. And also adding the Q&A element to make you guys a little more involved because that is just a lot of fun. So yeah, that was episode 1 and 2, Days Gone By and Guts. I can't wait to watch episode 3 and 4. I don't remember what the titles are. I think 1 was Tell It to the Frogs. And 4 was, I hate that I forgot. I don't know why I forgot. I feel like the first 6 episodes, the titles are pretty, or for season 1, the titles are pretty memorable. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next Walking Dead rewatch.